What's up, guys? Welcome back to an episode of Elite Physique University. We are back this week after a little break that we took for the month of April. This is episode 94, and we're going to talk a little bit about business today. So with Jason, there's been a lot going on with ScoobyPrep, NuEthix, and Advanced Vitality. So we just want to catch up on that with you guys and like kind of show you like where you can progress coaching to and like what can come of it and like how, and also like just lots of awesome things happening in our industry. So yeah, we have a really exciting episode today. We're just going to kind of talk shop with each other, but I guess we should all catch up on our last month. I know before we were talking, we just had like a lot going on. So how has your guys' last month been? I know, John, you just had some competitors come up this last week, didn't you?
Yeah, it's well, first of all, it's been a while since we've all been on a podcast. I've actually missed you guys. Just the banter before starting. It's like, man, this is always part of the part of my day I look forward to because we can all just catch up with friends and talk business that we don't get to talk about with everybody else. So I'm excited for this show. I am going to crack this open. I'm keeping my caffeine really
Classic.
low these days. Yeah, this is a nice white trash drink from Walmart called Sparkling Ice with caffeine. It's only
Oh
got
God,
70.
it's getting way gayer now.
Yeah, no more
It used to
monsters
be
for this
like
guy.
Monster and Bang, and now
Make sure
it's
you have
like
pinky up. Pinky
I,
up when you
I got
drink.
my fruity tea.
If you're watching on YouTube, you saw me just spit that out of my nose, you fucker. um, yeah. But anyway, yeah, but athletes have been doing well. I've had like 4 or 5 hit the stage, and we've got like 8 first place finishes and all second place finishes, a couple overall. So it's been good. You know, sometimes you get that run of clients where they are just on it and they do everything to a T. I call them elite at this point because you've always got the clients that go above and beyond, and they're the ones that always end up placing high and doing really well. And I've had a nice run of those clients. So coaching side, things have been great. And then Fat Muscle, I was on the Excellence Cartel podcast yesterday and had a blast talking supplements. I enjoy talking business at this point more than I do anything else because there's still so much to learn. And while we still have a lot to learn with physique enhancement, it's still newer to me, even though I've been doing business for a long time. So I like hearing Jason's take on the starting NuEthix. So if you guys want to go listen to that podcast, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, just crushing it and pushing. What about you, Kayla?
Oh, this last month was the month that all of my friends decided to compete in the same month. So I got to travel a lot, which is fun. I love traveling. I will take any excuse to get out of North Dakota and go travel. So let's see, where did I go? I went to Cincinnati, Ohio, for the women's pro am. I had 3 friends compete there. They all did awesome, hit 1,000-pound totals for the first time. 2 out of the 3 did. And then
Damn.
um, I went to Des Moines, Iowa for the show there because my friend is competing in classic physique, going for his pro card this year, and he's looking really good. It's going to be really, really close. I think he's going to do Junior USA's next week. And he's dialed in. Like I'm really excited for him. So I'm really bummed I can't go to that. But I had to like say no at some point. And then this last weekend I was in Vegas for my other friend's powerlifting meet. She did the fight or quit meet, and she won overall best lifter. So she's going to do the American Pro this fall, which is like a really big meet for powerlifting, for raw lifters and stuff. So that was really fun. So yeah, and then just been like we kind of chatted before. We also have been dealing with some like family stuff. My dad has been having some health issues and stuff. He just got diagnosed with terminal brain cancer, so that's
Mm.
it's great. So we're just kind of like being positive as much as possible. I get to see my sisters more often now, so I guess that's a positive. And my niece and nephew. So we're just trying to just do the best we can and make sure he's comfortable and stuff with everything that we can do. So otherwise, yeah, just I also started another podcast. I don't know if you guys have saw it yet. But me and Jane, who's also a coach on ScoobyPrep, and our friend Sammy, who also we met at the Hybrid Health Summit, for example, we started a podcast based on like talking about female competitors, like things that we went through as competitors in going into coaching, mistakes we made, like all that kind of stuff. And so we're hoping that that really brings a light to the female competitors and like how your health is so important and how to have longevity in the sport, and just have that
Good.
athlete mindset too.
Yep.
So So yeah, so that's
you should link that in the show notes so people can go check it out. I think anytime you can story tell and give personal experience. I mean, we all do as coaches, but people really like to hear your personal experience as well. I think that would be really cool to link in the show notes. Everybody check out.
Yeah. And, I think it's cool too, because, we don't want to vilify competing for women. We just want to make sure that it's being coached right. And there's there's ways to take, some extra precautions. You can't make bodybuilding and competing completely safe, but there's ways to make better precautions that give you longevity in the sport. And I think all three of those ladies have a really good input on that. So definitely.
Yeah. Especially like with like the PED side of things. Like there's like so many people that like, especially in females, they just like, it's so taboo to talk about, but it's like, this is a thing. And like, it's out there. And so like, if we can provide some information, on like just experiences or like things that we've learned or like misconceptions about it, like, then cool. Like that's awesome. And so that's why we called it the real raw truth. Like, so it's fun. I'm really excited for it.
Good.
So
I'm excited for you guys. It's cool.
Thank you. Which we're going to have you on too.
I
you
know.
guys
I'm ready.
at some point. So we're ready for that. But okay, right. Jason, go ahead. I'm done talking.
It's been a whirlwind of the last month. I'll share some highlights, some things I keep to myself, but I presented at the Hybrid Health Summit. That kind of kicked off the last four weeks. And I think we're going to talk about that more today, so I won't say a whole lot. But that was really cool. And so that whole thing was an adventure and really cool. And I think I said we'll delve into it. AVH is hitting record months. That's the HRT clinic. ScoobyPrep is hitting record months, and so is NuEthix. So I'm really blessed on the business front. In 2023, I've kind of just decided like I'm going to do a lot of traveling, and I'm going to focus on business as well. So like those are my two things that I'm going to kind of do. I'll be in Charleston next week, Junior USA's. I had like 2 or 3 clients, but few things ended up with one. I think she's going to go pro, so I'll be there for her. But it'll just be a cool weekend. Charleston's badass. I'm sure I'll run into coaches I know and figure something out and have fun. So just doing things like that. I've been out to San Diego, been to Florida once, just kind of just enjoying things and kind of just taking it one day at a time, but really with a big business focus and push. And then I got some other cool things going on with ScoobyPrep, but I think we're going to talk about that as well on the podcast. So I will wait for that as well.
I'm going to ask you a tough question. This isn't on here. I sent the 2 that I added here before we started the show.
I read them. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've got another tough question. It might be one for the end, but I'm just going to ask you now. With you pushing you're pushing so hard in 3 directions, which is fucking awesome. I love it. I draw from that. I love following successful people being associated. Right now, you've got ScoobyPrep, you've got the HRT clinic, you've got NuEthix. You're doing a lot of things where they all kind of intermingle and overlap. Right now, what's the one, if you had to pick one that you're having the most fun with, which one is the most fun right now?
For me, the hormone clinic.
Okay, awesome.
I've always loved hormones. I said, dude, Troy's one of my business partners, one of my longest running friends. Well, he is. I've known him since 2nd grade. We were out at the pool at my old house, and we were like, we've got to get in this game. And we just didn't know how we were going to do it. And this was about 6 years ago. And, obviously we would have liked to get in the end, but things just weren't lined up. And so to be doing it and to be doing it right, I feel like we have a lot of great people involved with us, a great ownership team. So for me, that one is a lot of fun because there's so much still untapped potential, like so much. And every month it's just like growing so much. And so I'm having a lot of fun with that one right now.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love it.
Alrighty. So this episode is all about Jason.
Hey,
so you get to talk about yourself today. But no, we just like John said, like having someone that has like, 3 different directions of businesses and like they're all intermingled in the same industries, like really, really cool. And I don't think there's anybody else out there like that either. So we just wanted to go over that and like kind of tell the audience about what you've been up to.
Sure.
So I think the first thing we should go over is like Boom America. Like you had mentioned that before.
Yep.
So can you kind of tell us like more about like what the show is and like when that airs and like what that all entails and stuff?
Definitely. So how I got involved with that was we got asked to be involved with a product called Country Ball, and you guys can Google that, and there's episodes out. And the premise of that was it's kids that are really good high school athletes in football who maybe go to small schools and they're not getting the D1 looks. And there's this coach, Jesse, and he's actually a very young guy. I think he's only about 30, but he's very well connected. And he's the like main character of the show. And he goes around and finds these kids and then gets them scholarships. So NuEthix had some spots on that where it wasn't just like, you know, here's a picture of NuEthix product. They wanted some of the owners involved and basically like discussing the product within the show. Kind of think like, you know, when Trump did, what was the You're Fired show? What was that called?
The Apprentice.
Yes.
Yeah. So they would have like, you know, P&G come on, and, you know, P&G's owner or some head honcho would come on, and they would run kind of like the program that the players had to like do. Right. And then there was like placement. That's what they were trying to do. So I was in that. And then I guess because I've done all these podcasts and all these speaking events, that I was good on camera and they didn't have to do a lot of takes. So they started talking about what other businesses do you have? This is awesome. We can get together and just run these really quick. And then I started telling them, I was like, well, we have NuEthix and we have AVH. And they're like, well, we got this TV show, Boom America, that we're going to do. And I'm like, okay. And so they tell us that Boom America is Kevin Harrington. He was one of the original Shark Tanks founders. If you guys ever watched Shark Tank on, I think, you know, NBC, one of those TV shows. And so Kevin Harrington is involved, and he basically put together an A team, and it's all the top like ad execs, Amazon people, publicists, and their job is to take the 4 companies that are on our episode and take us like that as quick as they can. And so for them, they're showing their skill set. And for us, we're getting all this access to all these big players for really a small cost. I think the show cost us $10K to be on. And so NuEthix is on it. And then, like I said, once they got NuEthix, I got to know the producer well. And he's like, well, what else do you got? And I go, well, I got this hormone clinic. He goes, I want that too. And so I got both on the shows, and I think they're going to air probably maybe around September. Discovery Channel wants the Boom America, so it might not even be a streamer. It might be on like cable TV on Discovery.
Wow.
If it's on Discovery, that's going to be massive because of the
wow.
That's sick.
So I got fingers crossed that it's literally on Discovery, and that'll be badass. So I've been going back and forth from Florida a lot to film. But we also do Zoom calls with the A team, and those are recorded. And so those will be part of the episodes as well. So I don't have to travel every time, but it's been pretty busy. But so as far as NuEthix, you know, we had people review our marketing, and, you know, it's kind of where it needs to be. There was a few suggestions, but we got a really great Amazon guy, and he's scaled about 6 businesses on Amazon to $100 million. And he doesn't do agency work anymore, but because he's on the show and he wants to show what he can do, he took over our Amazon account as an agent. So he's going to basically just blow us out of the water that way. And he said he would double our amount in 2 months. And it looks like he's going to do it, because when he took over, we were about 100,000 a month. And the first month he had it, we're at 153. So if he gets 200 next month, he'll do what he said in like 2 months. So, but he thinks he'll make it about $1 million a month account. That's his goal. So we'll see. So we're getting really big contacts with really big players, and it's been really, really fun.
Yeah.
Can I want to insert something here, because I absorb everything. And one of the key things that I heard you say that I don't want people to miss out on is, because you've done so many podcasts, because you've done so many speaking events, you're very practiced up. You could go talk right now at the drop of a hat about any of your stuff and talk just like some of the best speakers in the world, right? All of us that do podcasts, like I did a 5-minute commercial for the local, TV station here. Yep. And they're like, oh, wow, that was so easy. Yep. Yeah, fuck, it was easy. It's what we do, right? We can talk about it at the drop of a hat. But how key was that to opening the door to you? Because then the producer was like, what else do you have? Because he was invested in you. The product's great. The companies are great.
Right.
But shout out to you, man, for being so well-versed. And I think I want our listeners to pay close attention to that. This is not something that you put in the work for so long. to have not just good companies, but for you to be able to present yourself and your companies in a certain way. That's why I think people doing podcasts and speaking, even if it's fucking in front of 5 people, it's so important for people. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I mean, and then once I got our NuEthix team in there, here comes Vince walking in. He looks great on any camera, and Steph comes in. So then, of course, he's like, "Well, what else you guys got? Like, you guys are all like great on camera. Like, every one of you are unique in some way." So then it was like, "Yeah, bring your AVH team." And then I had Megan in there, and Troy, and so it's just, but yeah, he was really pleased with how quickly I could just do a take. So
that's an all-star cast right there, and I don't mean on TV. I just mean in general in business. I mean, everybody you just named, especially, from the hormone side that we don't get to hear from a lot, like Megan, for example, she's freaking, we need to have her on the show.
We do.
That's just an all-star cast.
She'll do it.
Yeah.
So it's been exciting. So that's why I kind of said, like, this year for me it's just a big focus on the business side. And, I think at some points, in life, I was more probably maybe focused on Olympia or bodybuilding, and not that I wasn't putting everything in the business, but, there was just, I was spread thinner. And now it's just, that's where I'm having my most fun. And, so that's where I want to be. And, I'm having too much fun going out to nice dinners and traveling to want to have to like starve,
It's interesting to look back though. We're talking about speaking, leading some of these opportunities. A lot of people don't understand is in the beginning, like if you're someone young listening, if you spend the time understanding physique enhancement and learning about bodybuilding, and you go all in like Jason has and like many other people have, that opens the door to so many things. Like look at what bodybuilding has, and you've done all the work, of course, but that was the first initial step, right?
Yeah. I mean, the message boards back in the day. And then the only reason I really got into speaking was you. I mean, I have you to thank for that. You had the Physique Summit and you put me on that panel, and then, gave me the chance the next year. I mean, I had never spoken, and I was freaking scared shitless when I spoke up in that first forum that first time,
That was a big ass crowd.
It was for me. Yeah. And we're at first forum and I'm like, oh shit. So yeah, I mean, but and you and I met on a message board.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you never quite know where you're going to meet your contacts and where you're going to make friends, and how that's going to both mutually benefit you all as you move through your careers,
Yeah. It's always interesting.
I think that it's a good thing to point out what you just said about like who you meet as friends and who you have your connections with, because you can be the smartest person in the room or around the world, but there is a component of it's who you know kind of a thing. Like, am I wrong?
Yep. No, not at all.
And then
you want to know people that are smarter than you too.
Yes.
You don't want to be the smartest person in the room. You really don't. You want to be pushed, and you want to learn something from people. And I've done a really good job of being surrounded around people smarter. Maybe I'm just not that smart. I don't know, but I feel like I'm always surrounded by people smarter. So, that's one of the ways I think that you can be really successful. So
do you think too that like, you said too that bodybuilding has not a big focus right now, but going through that previously and learning the discipline and like the work ethic from bodybuilding, do you think that's helped you with
100%
businesses?
100%. I wish I had the drive that I applied to bodybuilding when I was in high school and doing soccer and college and soccer. Like I didn't know how to work hard. Luckily, school came easy and I was a decent, soccer player, but I didn't work hard. Like I didn't know what hard work was. And the thing is, like some kids know earlier, I know like John's son, he used to practice basketball like out in the cold, just shooting shots. John would show him, just making himself better. I was never that kid. It came easy to me kind of. And so I kind of coasted. And then I tried bodybuilding, and that shit didn't come easy to me at all. And then I was like, fuck, all right, well, if I like this shit, I'm gonna have to work hard. And then that translates into business too. Over time, you kind of learn how to work hard. Got to be up early. You can't, just all the things that you got to apply that kind of worked in the bodybuilding world. It kind of works in business world as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I would never shun or behoove anyone who wants to compete by any means. I did that shit forever. I'm just saying at this time in my life and this season, I don't really need to be competing anymore. Yeah. Doesn't mean I won't ever. Hell, who knows? Maybe by the time I'm 53, I'm done with business and everything's crushing, and I compete again. I have no idea.
Retire and do the Masters Olympia.
You never know. You never know.
Okay, so going into like the Hybrid Health Summit, I think we want to talk a little bit more about that, because that was and like I was there, so it was like, honestly, in my opinion, it was the best conference I've ever been to. And I thought it was so cool. So I guess like for those that didn't go, like, can you just kind of go over like what you presented on, and talk about like
Yeah. So first and foremost, I was on the main stage, which was a huge honor. They had like a side stage that was always going. And so I was on the main stage, which, was very cool. Dr. Pompa was on there, Chris Bumstead, Phil Heath, Nick Sanastaso. I'm going to mess up his name, but he's a huge public speaker. And so, the list goes on and on. So that was an honor. And I did it on metabolic syndrome. So, we're talking poor insulin sensitivity, cholesterol issues, blood pressure. It's one of the main diseases that affect Americans today. And I had a 67-year-old client that came to me with it, on all kinds of medicines. And I showed how we use functional nutrition plus allopathic medicine, i.e. The hormone clinic, to blend and support his recovery and put him onto a situation where now he's got a 6-pack and he's building muscle, and he got off his blood pressure meds, didn't need any of his insulin meds, and was just a healthy dude going forward. And then I talked, about how I then did his diet. Now he's keto on off days, and then he gets carbs around training on training days. Keep that inflammation always managed, insulin sensitivity always managed. He's gonna have to do that. But I presented on that and how you use it, functional medicine, to come through with it, and then blend that allopathic. So it was really cool. I got a lot of good comments on it, and Vince has seen me talk a lot, and he says it's the best I've ever done. So I rose to the occasion, which I'm glad I was able to do. So
let me ask you something. We've done a ton of conferences together, the Physique Summit being the largest. We'd have 125 people show up. That's always been the biggest event that I've ever put on and spoken at to date. So, which is a lot of people. I mean, I spoke at a First Form event, had like 250 people, and I had 5 minutes to prepare because that's how organized that shit was. But that was a lot of people. 2 questions.
Yeah.
One, you've been to the Physique Summit every year. It's been open except for the first one. If you rated that one on a scale of 10 and you gave it, say, a 9, right? Like pretty good. What would you rate this one, and what were the main differences? Because this is a different event, right? Like very professionally run. Like we did a good job. We have a team, but it's very mom and pop. It's very like you get to talk to all the speakers, and you have access to everybody. You've been to both events. I wanted to go to this. I just couldn't because I didn't have time. Compare the two. So most of our listeners have been to our events, or they've been to something like that. What's that? And then finally, I'll remember the second question because I'm old. I'll come back to that once you're done.
Okay. So, being at the Physique Summit, I don't want to say that the Hybrid Summit wasn't intimate, but I would say like the Physique Summit was like a step up from PECs that we do.
Right.
Very similar feel. And then this was built to, I almost want to say, not only get you educated, but to make you really think about what you want to do in terms of your career and how you can make the biggest impact. And they did a very good job of driving that home. Kayla has a better memory than me. She probably remembers the statements. What was the statement they gave, Kayla? Do you remember it?
It was pain to purpose to prosperity.
Right. So
that
what's
like
your pain? How did you develop your purpose? And how are you going to take that purpose and make yourself money doing something you love? Okay. And they drove that home all weekend with like emotional storytelling. Vince shared, his battles with addiction. So it wasn't just bodybuilding presentations. Nick his name's really hard to say, but he's the guy with no arms and legs. And he gave a presentation that really made you sit and think, man, about like life, how you've come through it, how you've dealt with things, how you can look at things better, and et cetera. So it blended education with pulling at your heartstrings and really make you think about where your purpose is and how to get there based on all the info they were giving. And then, he just spared no expense. I mean, the ball at the gala that night, I couldn't even tell you what half these things are. They're all dressed, it's black and dark in there, and they're dressed in these big, like, things with lights on them, like horses coming in with lights, and like not real horses, but like they're, I don't know. It was like
technically, it was a show.
It was like
It was a show.
It was crazy.
And so, I did leave there saying, even myself, who's been to a lot of conferences with a lot of great people, that it was kind of a life-changing event. And I really think
Mm.
anyone who didn't go, you really did miss out. And I really can't
Yes.
wait to the next one. Like it's,
Yep.
you know, it was just that good. So
mine is already in my schedule, and like I'm going every year. Like
Yeah.
it was so much fun. And like I liked how it was very like interactive too. Like it wasn't just like you sit in your chair the whole time and you take notes and you just like watch
True.
everyone and like you don't talk to anybody. Like the way that Vince's energy is just like you can't help but like get involved, because Vince is just like throwing beach balls everywhere and like there's lights going on and like gets everyone hyped and stuff. And I also like that he had Emily Duncan come in and do like a meditation like beforehand every
yeah.
morning. That was cool. So there was like involvement, but not quite as intimate as like a PEC or like one of your conferences, John, and stuff like that. And so, but yeah, I highly agree with that. Like it was so much fun and like it was awesome. That's all I can say.
I think it takes a special person to put on an event to have that kind of energy, because that kind of stuff I feel awkward with. It doesn't come natural to me. I'm more about education, sit and talk to people, make it intimate. And when I saw, because I followed along, I said, man, I want to be here. I saw, everybody's dancing at the end of the night, music's playing and drinks are going. And I'm like, I don't know how the fuck I would organize something like that, because none of that comes naturally to me. I'm more of an introvert.
You would need a team. Vince has a very team. That is not one man that is doing that.
Right.
It takes an army, and that was a very it wasn't a cheap event.
I could imagine, just looking at some of it, knowing what goes on into just some of ours. The second question I had is, and I don't know if you know this number or not, how many people were there? Do you feel like?
It was a little shy of 400.
Damn, that's amazing.
And he thinks he'll triple it next year. Usually you can plan to double it, but he thinks it'll triple. So
it was cool.
We should have him on to talk about a behind the scenes episode of what went into putting that together. I think a lot of people would like to hear that. Yeah. Kayla, I know you've got access too. So anyway, I'm glad to hear that, because we've put on events. We have, 30 to 50 people, and I like that. But since COVID, man, it's been hard. And I think someone has to come with the next level like this to be able to draw that kind of a crowd, because like my Fat Muscle Academy, it's here local. Like I can put 50 people in a room, but man, it's everything to get 50 people. So that's cool to see big events like that just kind of popping up.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. We focused on a lot of the non-learning stuff, but I mean, I learned a lot. Vince did his OID. Dr. Pompa talked about, fasting and things that I already do, but needed more, I guess, reassurance. So it was really, it was packed with good education too. So I don't want people to think that it was all just a party, because that was definitely not it.
Yeah. Definitely learned a lot. Like how you always say, Jason, of like, take away like 2 things that you can. Like in my notes on every single one, I wrote the 2 big things that I learned, because I was like, this is just a lot of information, and like I'm glad I took notes too. So but yeah, so all right, we have to keep going, because we could talk about this stuff for all day. But we wanted to talk to you about too, of like, other business opportunities coming up for any of the 3 businesses, or like where do you see the future of them going from here?
So the cool thing about the business is it's an ecosystem, right? So you've got ScoobyPrep, you've got supplements that I need to get outcomes, and now you've got the medical piece that you need to also get further outcomes for more and people that are further along in terms of sickness, quote unquote, lifestyle sickness. So now it's a big ecosystem circle that completely feeds itself. So, when you ask what else could be added, I'm not 100% sure yet.
You'll think of something.
Like I don't know. Like I don't know. But at the moment, I think it's all growing together. And like I said, every one of those businesses keep hitting new revenue months. And so that was always the goal, was to build something that is an ecosystem. And then, then you've got my business partner, Vince's. He's got Nutrition Dynamic. It's plugged in to all those businesses too. And so the more you have these businesses plugged in and the brands supporting each other, it's like a multiplier. And so then the whole thing just moves in one. And so that's kind of where we're at with it. And just building the ecosystem. I don't know at the moment that I have any ideas of adding new businesses, but I will tell you Feed for Function is still sitting there, and we are working with our developer still. It's just things take a while. And I really think that still will be a great business. It's just taking forever to get the new version 2 out. So,
okay, perfect. I love that. And I can attest as being like a coach, and like with the Hybrid Health Summit, it was all about connecting all of these things, like all of this allopathic medicine, coaching, functional medicine, all that into one. And it's been so much easier to like have the access to a proper HRT clinics, because I have clients that come to me that are on HRT, and they're just like, my one girl, she had like 100 and something free tests, and I'm like, and they were just like, oh yeah, just stop taking it and then take saw palmetto just like twice a week. And I'm like, what? Like, doesn't even make sense. And she has PCOS. And I
oh
was like,
God, oh
doesn't even
God.
make sense. And
Stop,
I was
it's so
like,
bad.
so I just am like, okay, we need to get you over to Advanced Vitality,
Yeah,
so that they can
yes.
talk to
So
me
bad.
directly.
Yeah.
So it's just like so much easier and better to have access to those things as a coach. So I think that's what also was the point of like the Hybrid Health Summit, to sub into that. But going into like branding and stuff, I know, John, you had a question about branding, because I know ScoobyPrep is also kind of going in a not different direction, but rebranding it in some way.
Rebranding.
So if you guys want to talk about that, that would be really good too.
Great.
I've got a question that I put in our notes here.
Go ahead and tell me, ask.
This is something that, okay, ScoobyPrep, for me, that's Team Gorman. It's something I stopped really pushing and promoting. I don't have a lot of shirts out for clients anymore that have the Team Gorman logo. But prior to 2016, like that's what I was known as Team Gorman was my coaching business. And then when I started doing podcasts and I started doing all those other things, I had gotten advice from, of all people, Andy Frisella. And he told me, he said, hey, why the fuck are you pushing Team Gorman? Nobody's going to know who the fuck Team Gorman is. They need to know who John Gorman is. And that stuck with me. And I see both sides of everything. And I'm not saying one's right or wrong. I'm just curious to see what your thinking is. Are you going to, I don't know what your rebrand looks like. I didn't know anything about this.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah. Are you going to keep ScoobyPrep? Are you going to push now more to promote the name Jason Theobald with everything that you're doing that we talked about earlier? I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that. Personally, I like ScoobyPrep. I like Scooby U. I like everything that you're doing there. And these days, a simple Google search shows all our stuff tied together anyway, right? So what's your thoughts on all that?
Well, you got to remember, I have a coaching business. It's not just me. So it's going to stay with the Scooby, because I have, 12 coaches, and I don't think it makes sense to be a jasontheobald.com. So what we are going to do though is expand the name or broaden it a bit, because let's be honest, prep means, everyone thinks bodybuilding prep, and that's what I did for years. And then as my career's grown and I've moved more into functional and helping people with, a lot of lifestyle disease, I felt like it was finally time to rebrand. And I was at the Health Summit, and it just kind of felt like the right time. I kind of felt like I've been dragging my feet on it. It really motivated me. I talked to Kayla, I talked to Jane. They were there, talked to a few other people on the team, and I threw out Scooby Health 365, and everyone really liked it. So we're going to rebrand to Scooby Health 365. And so we'll still have bodybuilding under there. There will be a tab, and any coach that wants it, they'll be associated with that. But we'll have the functional health, now, and weight loss resistance now. And so it needed to finally fit what we are about rather than just prep. And I didn't want that to no longer limit us if it was. And I'm not saying it was, we've been growing, but it just seemed like the right time. And the Hybrid Health Summit really kind of, I think at times I fought to hold on to the bodybuilding part of me. And I'll always be a bodybuilder, and I always train to be a bodybuilder. But if I look at the scope of my business and where I'm really changing lives, it's not really on the stage per se. It's more with the functional health. So that summit really kind of just hit me and just said, you need to finally get this done. And I literally bought the new domain there, and I bought Scooby Health too.
Watch them click the button.
Yeah. In case we need to buy, we need to shorten it or whatever. but it just makes sense and it needed to be done. And so we're working on it. And I designated each tab to one of my coaches that I trusted, and they did a video. So it's not just me on every tab. You know, I think Kayla had her own thing, and Jane did one, and maybe Mare, and I did one. And, you know, so it has some of the team members talking, and it's not just me. And yeah, I think it was just time, but I don't think where I'm at in my career, I'm trying to necessarily push myself. You know, the brands and the team and everyone involved is more important to me than just me, my name.
Is Scooby U going to be part of that as well?
Scooby U will be part of that. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Very cool.
It'll be under that umbrella. Definitely.
Yeah. I can attest to that too, being that a coach on the team. Like, it's been awesome just like being a part of the team, because like I feel like I have support now and stuff. And like even with Scooby Health, like people will still get Scooby Prep like before, but we also still tie in that health aspect to our prep clients. Like, it's not just like your typical prep coach either. So I think that that just fits it so much better. So I like the direction that it's going. You know I won't be able to prep clients forever either. I don't think I want to prep clients forever, you know, so having that other side of it too is also really helpful for us as growing coaches. So yeah, I think we only have one question left, and John, it was a good one. So I'll leave you to ask your last question for Jason.
Yeah, I like to ask this of a lot of high achievers. I've asked something similar to this with other podcasts and people on. I always like to get people's take on this. What do you want the legacy for yourself to be, for Jason to be, right? Encompassing all these things. You know, we're getting closer to 50 than we are to 40 now at this point. I know I'm going to be 46 next week. You're 45, correct? So you're going to be 46. You're on the other side right now. Now we're headed towards 50. And the next thing you know, I mean, you know, 60 is just around the corner, because as we get older, shit just goes faster. I know, but it follows. So with keeping that in mind and just pushing like all hell, what do you want that to be? Like, what do you want your legacy to be? Because this will be something fun to look back on. I mean, your kids could be listening to this in 30 years, or your grandkids could be listening. Hey, I want to know what granddad was like, you know what I mean? Because all this shit will be out there more than likely. What are you thinking right now? Do you think about that, or do you just push like all hell and let it, you know, it's just going to kind of figure its way out? Yeah.
You know, I think that ultimately I want to be known as, you know, the first bodybuilding coach that really took a leap and went out and learned the functional and brought it into the bodybuilding space. You know, it was a big pivot. I took a risk, and look where everything's kind of moved to now. So, you know, and then lastly, I just would want it to be known that, you know, I treated everyone fair, whether it was my business partners, my clients, or people that I came in contact with. You know, I always want people to, you know, that I treated them right in business. I treated them right in terms of education, mentorship, whatever that may be. So I think, you know, if those two things are what's remembered, I think that'll be a good career.
It's definitely something people may say, oh, so-and-so, or someone may speak up and say, oh, I brought functional med. No, not in the bodybuilding world. Like, Jason was the guy. I remember the specific time frame that it started coming about. And I remember that's why I was like, hey, I need you to bring this to the Physique Summit and speak on it. And it was the first one. And a lot of the bodybuilding coaches at first, they did not like it because one, it was change. It was different. It made them uncomfortable, and it exposed what they didn't know.
Yep.
But if you're a good coach, you pivoted and you started to learn too. And now you see this massive influx, and this is another topic for another day. You see this massive influx of functional coaches, but it's like anything else. Like when you're early to something and you help lead the charge, you're going to see the growth in that area. You're going to create your own competition, but that's okay. A lot of people see that and they think about the negative side of it. It's not, it's a positive side. Think about how many people are getting helped. And that's a legacy thought. That's not oh, what am I missing out on? So I love it, man. I love that answer.
Thank you.
Yeah. I know that it definitely helped me, because like when I joined ScoobyPrep, like I was a mess, let's be honest.
Jeez.
And it like has completely changed my life. Like I knew I was going to coach in some way, shape, or form, but I had never heard of functional coaching until I screwed myself up. And then now, like, here I am, like, never ever would have thought of that. So, I mean, I look up to you a lot. I know I've said that before, but I really do. So it's just really cool to be with you guys too, and just talk about all this stuff and like be involved. Like, it's just so much fun to me. So yeah.
This gives me motivation. This gives me motivation. It's a lot of people are insecure and they don't like to admit when someone's done more than they have, or they're at a farther point in their career than they are. I draw motivation from that kind of stuff. It's what pushes me to learn, not from being competitive, because I am, but it's I am, but with you and I'm not. It's interesting, right? Like I want, like, dude, the better you're doing, the more I'm like, fuck, I got to keep going. Like, look at everything that's going on. Like, you've got more. So I love that side of it. So I'm just enjoying watching the journey, man. Keep going.
I appreciate it. We'll keep pushing each other. You know, that's what it's about. Like everyone that you get to connect with and everyone that becomes in your circle, you know, and you guys are in my circle, and that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to be jealous of anyone who gets better in your circle. You should be proud of it and then make it motivate you, you know? So I learned that pretty early on, you know, so
100%.
Jealousy is only going to get you like so far and
kicked out of the circle.
Yes.
Yep.
And then you will be down.
Yep.
So yeah, always like support people, you know, and just do your best. I guess that's all you can do. So, all right. Well, I guess like that's everything that we have. I guess if anyone has any last thoughts or anything to add to this, like this was a really good episode, I think.
I don't. I just know that we've got more content coming. With that little break that we took was nice. Jason, I'm sure you appreciate it with everything you just told us. It was a perfect time for a break.
It really was. It really was. But you know, I guess, you know, I'll say the closing words. I appreciate you guys delving into my stuff, you know, for the hour. It's been fun. I'm hoping that the listeners got something out of it. And you know, if anyone needs anything, I'm always an email or a DM away. So if you need to talk anything with any of the businesses, certainly reach out and let me know.
Perfect. All right. We will be back with more episodes coming up this month. Lots of fun stuff for you guys. And other than that, we are out. So
peace.
See you guys.